Hey guys, we are now on to chapter 3. We're actually going to put 3.1 and 3.2 together. Rounding and estimating, most of this should be a review, so that's why we put them both together. So let's just go over a few things really quickly. Let me get what color I want here. So just for a quick review, in case you've forgotten, when we have a decimal, you need to know what certain things are called. So this 2, we need to know the place value. So this 2 is in the ones place, which is also what we really call it most of the time now is whole number. If we say round to the nearest whole number, it means the ones place. Okay, here's our tens place and our hundreds place. And then it would go on and on and on. Thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, etc. On the right side of the decimal, we have the tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and so on. Oops, thousand. THS, sorry. And then we have our 10,000ths. 10,000ths. Okay? So, from there, okay. Yeah, so that's just a quick review. I'm assuming everyone knows that, but just a quick review, and you can look back and make sure that you're getting that right. Okay? So, moving on to different types of estimating. Okay, so one of them is rounding. So this is just when we round. So rounding 4.2683 to the nearest tenth. One of the reasons that we round is numbers can go on forever, and we don't want to deal with those big numbers. So let's just make them small and easier to deal with. Rounding and estimating is just trying to make things easy. So to the nearest tenth. Okay, so we have to look and see, okay, which one's this again should be a review. Here's my tenths place, not my tens, but my 10th place. And we're going to look to the right. Remember, if that number is 5 or bigger, we round up. If it's smaller than 5, we round down. So this is going to be, we don't round down, we keep it the same. So this would become 4.3. You can put 000 if you want, but you don't have to since it's the right of the decimal. Okay? So moving on, 4.376 to the nearest whole number, so that's the 4. Okay? And we look over, does that 3 round it up? No. It doesn't necessarily round it down, it just keeps it the same. It keeps the 4 the same. So rounding it to the nearest whole number would just be 4. You can put 4.0 if you want, but there's no need. Okay? Our next number to the nearest hundredths. So we have tenths, and then this 2 is in our hundredths place. We go to the right, and we see a 1 there. So you write every number to the left, and then that 2 is just going to stay the same. You leave it like this. Since it's to the right of the decimal, you can put the zeros in there. It won't change the value. It does not matter. Okay, so I'm getting to know my program a little better, so I'm able to put little cartoons and stuff in here. This is just kind of a cute one. I'll have some better ones later, but it's just kind of funny. Who's putting all the math books in the horror section? Ha ha ha. So, anyway, moving on. Estimate by rounding. Okay, so the problem I have with these is it doesn't tell you what you're rounding to. So you just want to make it as neat and nice as possible. If it doesn't tell you, you can just round to the nearest whole number. Make it easy on yourself. Okay, 355.5 is really 356. Technically, since we're dealing with bigger numbers, you could round this to 360 if you wanted, or even 400 because it's closer to 400. If it doesn't tell you, then there could be a few different answers. 23.03 rounded to the nearest whole number is 23. We're just trying to make these problems easier. You just want to, and the point of estimating and rounding and things like that is to see if your actual answer makes sense. You should be able to do rounding things in your head. Okay, so 350, so that's going to be 379. Okay, so when you actually do the problem up here, if you had to, then you could just say, okay, if let's say you got 380 as your answer, you'd be like, oh, that's pretty close, so it must be right, you know, or something like that. Front end estimation. Add the front end and estimate the back. So this one tends to confuse some people. Oops, sorry. But it's really not that bad. So what you do is you take the numbers to the left of the decimal. So you take your whole numbers. So we have 2, 3, and 6. I'm actually going to go right here. 2 plus 3 plus 6. So that's what, 11? Okay, and then you round your next numbers, your numbers to the right of the decimal. So 0.71 is pretty close to 1. 0.22 is close to 0, so you don't even have to put that one in there. And 0.97 is close to 1. I would just round either to 1 or 0, so that's going to give me 2. So we're going to add 11 and 2 to get 13. Again, you're just estimating, so don't overthink it. You and your neighbor might have a little bit different answer. On the front end, you should have the same, but on some of these others, if it doesn't tell you where to round it, then don't stress about it. Just make it as easy as possible. Clustering is when you have a bunch of numbers that are close to the same value. So if you're trying to find about, you know, what 10 numbers are and they're all about 15, then you could just change them all to 15. So here, 15.04, that's really close to 15. You kind of have to look at all of them to see what you're going to round it to. 15.04, 16, 15.55, and 14. Those are all pretty close to 15. So you could do 15 times 4. The point of clustering is to get them all to be the same number. Okay, so if you have one that's 50, then you wouldn't be able to do this one. Okay, so 15 times 4 would give you 60. All right, so clustering, you would actually turn it into a multiplication problem, and all the numbers have to be close to the same value. Okay, estimate using compatible numbers. You guys will love compatible numbers. Okay, compatible just means what makes it easy, basically. So when you're multiplying, 4.72 is really close to 5, and 1.8 is really close to 2. 5 times 2 is 10. There you go. If you're rounding to the nearest whole number, that would go up to 5. This one would go up to 2. Right here, 11.15, that would round or stay the same at 11, and 4.4 would also stay the same. The whole number will stay the same, so that's going to be 44. Okay. Now, in division, you have a little bit more leniency with division because you want it to divide into it equally. So 3.2, if you're actually rounding it to the whole number, it should be 3. And then this would be 2. But those don't really go in together. Remember my program doesn't have a division sign, so I got to work on that. So this is my division sign right now. Okay, because remember, fractions are just division signs. So we can change this 3.2 to a 4 and do 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay, and I picked 4 instead of 2 because it's actually closer to 4. All right, so 4 divided by 2 is 2. When you come down to a little bit harder one, technically this would be 57 divided by 7. All right, well, 7 doesn't go into 57. So you can even change both numbers, okay, if you have to. This one you don't have to, but 7 would go into something close to 57, it'll go into 56. Divided by 7 equals 8. Okay, even if you have to change both numbers, that's fine, you're just wanting an estimation. Okay, last page. Joe bought 5 hamburgers for $3.28 each. Estimate his total cost. So this is kind of like clustering. Okay, we had five hamburgers. They're all about $3. You could even think, well, they're 3 1/4, and I know there's 4 quarters, but it's going to be about $15. We know that it's really going to be a little more than that if you wanted to think of it, because if we had 5 of them with 5 more quarters, it'd be more than $1, and then you add. Anyway, but we're just estimating. You're just getting estimates. About $3 it's going to be, but we know it's going to be more than that. But it's about $15. Number 6, this is our last one. Estimate the hourly wage of a worker who works 40 hours and makes $655.20. Okay, well, let's see. I might have to do a little work here because I don't know what goes into $655, but let's round it to $655. Does 40 go into that evenly? We will see. I'm wondering if I used the right. We'll see. So 40 goes into $655 one time. So we subtract. You have to do some long division. $255, and then that goes into it. I gotta look at my notes. 6 times. 0, 6, and 4 is, I've just gone blank. 6 and 4 is 24. So it's close. So we subtract again and we're left with 15. So it's about $16. Okay, again, it's an estimation. Okay, it is okay to not have the exact answer, but we're left with $15, 15 as the remainder, so that's okay. Okay, so it's about $16. Again, it does not have to be the perfect amount. If you're way off, like 28, that's not okay. Okay, if you wanted to round $655, 40 would go into something that's closer to $655. You can do that, but this is a pretty good answer. Again, it's estimating, so don't stress about it. I'm pretty lenient on estimating.